Good morning, everyone. Hello, my name is Helen Raff, and welcome to today's i4Travel webinar. Today's webinar is entitled Exploring How Travel Brands Are Exploiting Data and Analytics to Optimize Revenue, Refine Pricing, and Elevate the Customer Experience. We've got four fantastic speakers and a very well-versed moderator to lead you through the next 45 minutes. You should be able to see on the screen the speakers, but we have Laura Lomascalo, CEO and Director of Sales at Interlude Hotels and Resorts. We have Cynthia Rotano, Deputy Director of Revenue Management and Pricing from Thomas Cook Hotels and Resorts, Marta Varela, Director of Revenue Strategy from Barcelo Hotels and Resorts, and Ali Bisaka, Travel Product Marketing for Facebook and Instagram. So I'm sure you'll agree we've got a great lineup this morning. I'd like this webinar to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to ask a question during any point of the webinar. You should have a chat function in the GoToWebinar system, and then I can forward that on to the moderator. Before I hand over to Peter, your moderator, and the team, I wanted to remind you that this webinar is being held in conjunction with i4Travel's upcoming Revenue Optimization and Growth Summit, which is taking place on November 26th and 27th in Amsterdam. This event brings together around 300 senior executives from across the travel industry to debate the latest trends in revenue management, pricing, analytics, and digital marketing. And if you want more details, the URL is on your screen now. Finally, don't worry about taking notes today because I'll send you a link to the recording in a couple of days so you can watch back at your leisure. Without further ado, I'd like to pass you over to Peter Dohart. Peter is an independent consultant with vast experience in revenue management and pricing, which isn't just limited to the travel industry, so I know you'll be in good hands. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Helen, for the introduction. And yes, I would like to see the hundreds of people who are now dialed into this in my hometown of Amsterdam in November. But before that, let's have this discussion. A few themes, not a lot of time, a lot of experience and expertise on the call. So I'd like to start on the personalization side and how much you know about your individual customers. Probably best with Facebook, Instagram on the call to start there. So, Ali, what do you actually know about the people who book, and what is relevant, and what is insightful, and what is a good sort of example of the kind of correlations you find?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. So we have amazing speakers on the call who know a lot about their own kind of personal consumers. And so what we do at Facebook and Instagram is we really take a look at consumers in general to understand some of their patterns and to figure out the best way to help brands connect with those consumers. So when I think about kind of personal data, I think about the consumer research points that hotels might not have on their radar. So for example, we know that travelers, the path to purchase takes about 116 minutes over 43 days. That's a long time. It also happens over mobile, it happens on desktop. It's not at all a kind of consistent flow. It's very sporadic. We also know that 40% of EMEA website visitors, they abandon a site after 3 seconds. That's all it takes for them to leave. We know that 63% of people would choose messaging a business over picking up the phone or sending an email. And 57% of people want to be spoken to in the language that feels most natural. They're not comfortable making purchases if they don't speak that native language. So when I think about how hotels connect with consumers, my question is, are you looking into your website or app load time? Is it longer than 3 seconds because you're losing people? Are you really using the Facebook Pixel or the SDK to understand where some of those drop-off points are? And are you leaning into mobile platforms and messaging, or even things like multi-country, multi-language ads to ensure you're meeting consumers where they are and speaking the language that they feel most comfortable speaking and transacting in? That's what we think about from a consumer perspective.
Okay, that's a good challenge to open with. That would be very interesting to know from any of the others. How far have you gotten in this regard? I don't know, Marta, you are working for a big hotel chain, so I'd expect some sophistication there. Is that justified?
It is actually from our, well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me here. Yes. In terms of knowing our customers, our company has done a great advantage in the past years, implementing different kind of software and different kinds of systems, which allow us to know certain patterns on how customers are looking for the holidays, which kinds of resorts or hotels are they interested or in or destinations. Also, about more details, about their demographics like age, and in order to put all these customers in different groups so that you can perform some publicity or some advertisements on these certain groups of customers. The thing which we have not really got in yet is to link all this information that we have about our customers with the revenue strategies or with the revenue decisions that we have to make. So sometimes, even if we share this information with our digital department and we get all this knowledge that they are getting, we are unable to convert all this information into decisions that allow us to increment our revenues at hotel levels.
Yes, I can see that is the real challenge and also where the real reward is. Let's hold that thought for 1 second, because I'd also like to know from Laura, who works for a relatively small chain of boutique hotels and fairly high-end, if I understand. Laura, perhaps you're still in the situation where a lot of your hotels know their customers individually, as in almost personally. Is that true? And do you know a lot about your customers?
Well, yes. First of all, good morning, everybody. And of course, yes, we have a different kind of system to look at the reservation, the purchasing behavior of our guests, and to, in a certain sense, make statistics about that. We, through our Be My Guest, for example, that is our booking system, that is our central reservation system, and then that is perfectly integrated with analytics, and also through all the other data that we collect through PMS and so on, we can, of course, in a certain way, know personally the guest and try to personalize really a lot what the experience is looking for. What we do usually is collect all the data, put together, and try to understand what are the attitude of our guests, in which way they are going through the purchasing behavior, and how long it takes to book. And we know that there are different kind of way according to, for example, the nations or the nationality, or so the attitude is really different among them.
Okay, just sort of completing the circle. Cynthia, you work for Thomas Cook Hotels, and you told me that a lot of your customers, of course, come through the tour operator, Thomas Cook, but also other tour operators and direct clients. Is there a huge difference in what you know about your customers depending on which way they come to you?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for asking me the questions, Peter, and thanks to the audience for attending this webinar. We have 200 leisure hotels. I'm saying this because not everyone knows that Thomas Cook Hotels and Resorts has 200 hotels. And yes, most of our clients come from the tour operator. It's our main client. But we also work with other third parties and with OTAs, with bed banks, and we have our own website. So we analyze data as Ali asked us. So we are always trying to reduce the time of the bookings, and And regarding the question about multilingual, for the moment we have our website, or depending on the brand, in 2 languages, because these are our main markets, that it's German and English. It could be possible to speak different languages, but for the moment, and we have to go with basic steps. And we have the chat function also in these languages.
Okay. So I'd just like to go back to what Marta was saying about, well, we have a lot of data, but we haven't quite worked out how to turn that into additional profits, or to how to make best use of that in the commercial sense. And this is something that, of course, for about 20 years, we've been going towards personalized pricing. I am not convinced that that is the way to go, just to tell you, but how do you know which person would be willing to pay more than someone else? And is this something that you want to explore, or will it not be price that is the decision variable that you change on the basis of all this knowledge, but more the timing and the presentation and the packaging that you offer to an individual client? So the question to you all is there really a future for personalized pricing rather than personalized marketing?
Can I?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that the future is more on personalized marketing, because price is one of the of marketing levels. So you cannot consider the only one to use for a guest. What you have to do is, of course, to work on the guest now is asking for a personalized experience, not for a personalized price. And in our case, for example, in our chain, we see that he wants to combine differently several offers that we do to live his own experience, his personalized experience. It doesn't matter how much does it cost.
Okay, that's nice business to be in. I'm sure not everyone is in that business. Ali, what is your view? I mean, price is often seen as the most powerful marketing instrument, but do you think it should be used at an individual level?
Well, what we have found is that 62% of consumers have either chosen, recommended, or actually paid more for brands that provide a personalized buying experience. So while price is certainly a factor, personalization and giving someone what they want at the right time actually matters more, right? It's a silly example, but I was going out for dinner last night and I had the choice between a burger at a pub, which was reasonably priced, or a slightly pricier pizza. I wanted pizza. I didn't want a burger, right? I was willing to pay a little bit more to have the experience that I wanted. So when we think about kind of that personalized price versus marketing, we think it really sits in the marketing category. And because of that, we have designed our marketing solutions, whether they be hotel ads for retargeting or hotel ads for prospecting, to focus more on delivering the right product to the right consumer at the right time, because then you know you're giving people what they want. And while price will be a factor, we know that people pay more for that personalized buying experience.
Okay, so let me turn that around. So it's not about playing with price in front of a customer and say, like, how much do you want to pay? But if you want to find out which product is the most attractive to a person, so not retargeting, but someone who's searching and you know, okay, this person, I need to offer him or her this particular product, then part of that product is the price, and the likelihood to get him or her to book depends on that price, of course. So do you have a way to figure out which product, including the price of that product and the value it sort of represents, is most likely to make a conversion from someone being interested on day one to booking on day 43, I think you said.
Yeah.
How do you rate that likelihood to actually book?
Yeah, well, I have to say we are incredibly lucky at both Facebook and Instagram to have a ton of incredible users that showcase levels of intent on our platform. And so what I mean by levels of intent is travel is the most talked about topic on Facebook, and Instagram is travel is the #1 interest on Instagram. People are constantly asking people for recommendations. They're liking photos from their friends who have just come back from a holiday. They're looking on Instagram at the different locations or digging into a hotel property's profile. And using all of those levels of intent, we can actually start to figure out where people want to go and the type of product, right? The type of property or even flight that they are looking for. And so we've got, as you correctly said, we've got hotel ads for retargeting. That's easy. They've shown intent. They've come to your site. But when we think about prospecting, it actually allows you to personalize the property recommendation based on what we know about their levels of intent, right? And they're actually designed to be visual because we know that price is not always a factor. You can showcase price if you want, but you don't have to, because what we've seen from consumer behavior is they want to see several images of the property. They want to see your offerings. And because of that, that's how they make the decision.
So maybe a bit of a left field question, but how many people work on sort of turning that kind of data into something looking different than if you didn't have that data in the booking process? Do you have a huge team of what kind of people to make this happen?
Yeah, we have. I mean, we're very lucky to have a great team of engineers, a great team of product managers. We also have a great team of salespeople all around the world. But where we see the most success is when clients come back and tell us that this worked for them, right? So we have a lot of case studies. If you want to visit, I'll just throw out the URL because I know I've given a lot of kind of product names. There's a ton of case studies on facebook.com/travelfb, but I'll call out specifically Melia Hotels. They actually started using our hotel ads and they saw a 79% decrease in overall cost per booking and a 6.7 times return on ad spend. So when you see those results, you know it worked.
That's a good result, and thank you for sharing that. But the question was, how big is that team? And if you leave out the salespeople, but the engineers, the statisticians, data scientists, how many people do you have working in a travel space to do all this good stuff?
I don't have exact numbers. We've got teams globally all over the world. I can tell you within product marketing, we've got upwards of 10 people. Our engineering teams are always growing. So we're always kind of investing in travel because we see the value that it brings to our clients. But the team sizes are always kind of ebbing and flowing.
Okay. How Marta, you have an analytical team, I suppose?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
How many people do you have focused on the analytics of data and selling your hotel space?
Really, Peter, I wouldn't be able to tell you because it's part of the corporate team. I honestly would not be able to tell you how many people is sitting on the team, honestly.
Okay, no problem. I think Laura, you will be able to tell us how many people you have in your analytical team, right?
Of course I do, because we are a very small company, so it's easier. So, and we have actually we are working on the analytical team. We are 5 people actually, and there are 2 that are working on social media and customer care. So they are collecting all the data from that point of view. And there is 1 person who is working on our CRS, and me is collecting data because I'm the only statistician in the company at the moment, and I'm collecting all the data and look at the data for making strategies.
Okay, and so you said you're a statistician.
Yeah.
I think in the past it was fairly clear what needed to happen with statistics to do successful revenue management. basically demand forecasting, price sensitivity analysis, that kind of stuff. In the modern world, do you find it harder with all this other data and artificial intelligence, all the modern data science? Do you find it harder now to turn data into actionable items?
No, actually, it's easier because you have more data than before. Before, collecting data costs a lot of money. Now it's easier. You have them really for free, thanks to what happens with Instagram, Facebook, for example, or also with your website. You have all the information. So, and you can really make a profile of the guest, of the main guest you have. The thing is that it depends on the assumption you do when you would like to use a statistical modeling in making forecast, because usually as a statistician we start talking about a random sampling assumption. So if this kind of assumption is not considered at all, and you are talking about just convenience sampling, it's not easy to apply what is called revenue parameters or inference parameters on parameters and so on. So it's really not easy. Usually what I do is trying to merge a little bit statistical modeling, above all for making forecast, with something that is more empirical, and is convenient, for example, for what is the situation of the area in which the hotel is working. So, and I try to establish something that is in the middle, to have the data, some data that is more important for me to make the right strategies, and also to make right forecasts. Usually I suggest to other people many times to don't do, for example, forecasts that are based on the book of the last year, because it's crazy, it's unbelievable that the behavior of people will be the same and that the condition will be the same, exactly the same. You have to consider something like a whole period and look at it, just considering the possibility of making prudential forecast.
Okay, thank you for that. Cynthia, how, it sounds like, Laura, even though you've got quite a small company, it's not lacking in sophistication. And of course, your background as a statistician, you've been a teacher, you've worked for Marriott, so that's of course a good background.
Yes, of course.
But Cynthia, you've got 200 hotels, I think you said. How far do you feel you are in really turning modern science, data science, into actionable recommendations or decisions for your revenue management team?
Well, first of all, the question that you asked the colleagues, how many people we have working with? A lot of people. We have different departments, so it's not a small company, and we have separated in a department the CRM and the customer with the customer relationship. On the other hand, we have the e-commerce department and my department, that is revenue management and pricing. So we are collecting data from every source, and we started to put it together in one view, which is our CRM. We started with that project 3 years ago, and yes, we are still collecting data, and we can contact with the client. If he, for example, gives us the telephone number, we can have a better interaction with the client. We can have all the information in our database, and this gets a more personalized this gets more personalized with the client.
So are you happy with the level of sophistication you have achieved in personalization?
Well, we need to continue working with that. So, but as also Marta said, it's good to have data. It's good to have more information, because then you will take better decisions.
Okay. So I just want to move on to sort of the total revenue management and the focus on ancillary revenues, which has also been around for some time. What I see is that some companies are very aggressively looking at getting a sale at sometimes a very low price, because the distribution, a lot of the sort of the, well, conventional e-distribution is completely focused on presenting the lowest price, get the booking, and then get people on board, sometimes literally or in the hotel, and get them to spend more and more and more. So sort of exploiting the fact that at the time of booking, price sensitivity is very high, and then once you've got the client, it's that price sensitivity is not so much of a focus anymore. Now, I know, Laura, you said your clients aren't very price sensitive at all, but for those who do have price sensitive clients, is that the kind of model that you operate, or do you just take ancillaries as a sort of a bonus after booking?
Well, first of all, it has to be said that, in my opinion, price is also synonymous of the value of what I'm selling. So if I'm a 4-star or a 5-star, I cannot, of course, according to me, sell under a certain level, because it means that I'm not having some service in my hotel. So I'm not going in my target, first of all. Secondly, I think that sometimes you have to consider many other factors. How much does it cost to produce those ancillary spending? If you are going to sell so low your room in a way that the costs you are making, you are having to create the ancillary service are, however, high, you are not doing a good job. You are just doing quantity and not quality in your revenue. So according to me, it's not convenient at all. It depends on the situation. It depends on the cost structure of the hotel. You have to analyze really a lot all the details of the company, and to check the cost per department to understand what you have to do. But in my opinion, you have to take care about the fact that your value on the market means something, and the price is an explanation of the price of the value itself.
No, I think that's a fair point if you are indeed at that sort of the lofty levels of 5-star luxury. But if you look at no-frills airlines or holiday parks, then getting the client and sometimes relentlessly pushing for more revenue seems to be a successful business model.
Yes, of course, but if you manage well your rates, you can also build something like that, but without going down. You know, what is the value that could be expected from yourself, even though you are, a low cost or a mid-scale hotel, or for example, a hotel that would like to push with this kind of, with lots of ancillary. It depends, and it depends also on the target market you are talking about. Because if you think, for example, once I was working with Marriott, I was a sales agent there, just to make it really this kind of experience with them and to learn from them. And I was working with a golf resort. The golfers want to have a certain kind of package, because they want to have this kind of service anyway. It doesn't matter the price. they want to have the golf course, the golf round, one or two, it depends. If you have, for example, championship course and a normal course, they want to make one in the championship course and the one in the other. They want to have a dinner, for example, included. So this means that if you are talking with them, of course, you are making a solution for them. It doesn't matter the price.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a fair point for the luxury market, although, well, I'd like to sort of get the view from the slightly more down-to-earth or constrained perspective. So, Marta or Cynthia, what is your view on how to get the most out of every client in terms of ancillaries?
Okay, this is Marta here. Well, in our company, we are still far from having implemented total revenue management in all the areas and in all the segments and in all the outlets of all the brands and in all the hotels. Of course, then you have exceptions where there are more active hotels where they do tend to get more revenues from additional items that they can have, for example, in a pool when you have certain number of valley beds. And so individually, their hotels are trying to get these additional revenues. From a more strategic point of view, we do use the ancillary revenues in order to take decisions for certain segments. For example, we all know different tour operators, inclusive different nationalities that behave differently, so that you know that there are certain nationalities that tend to spend more money when they are on site. So, and you then would sacrifice a bit of the bedroom or the room revenue that you could get, because then you know that even if it's not contracted, because you cannot guarantee that the guests will have drinks in the bar or that they will have dinner when it's not included, but you have to take all this data that we were talking before, and we search which are the segments or the nationalities that do provide more additional revenues. And then if you can choose 3 tour series for the whole year, and you must choose these 3, then then you take the ones that will spend extra money as well as the ones that will not spend extra money. But if from the 3 series you have to choose one only to contract, because then your hotel doesn't have room for more series, then all this data will help you to take the decision into take that one that is going to spend more money in the hotel, according to all the other decisions that you have to take, the day of the week, if it's going to disturb other customers you have, etc., etc. But this is the kind of information that we use in order to take revenue decisions.
So that, I think if we combine 2 topics there, you're talking about market segments and nationalities, and I know the Dutch don't spend a lot on minibars, etc., but some do and some don't. So if you look at personalization, and if we say that personalized pricing isn't really the future, but personalized sort of presentation is, then if you can choose which people, rather than which nationalities, which individuals to target with a low price because they will spend more, then you're in business, right?
Correct. Yes, and also there is an additional source of information that also can help you, which is through which channel, because also the information provided by which channel is the customer going to buy you then also gives you information about what extra revenue. So at the end, it's combining all the sources of information and try to get 10 trends. And a trend is just analytical information that you get. It's not scientific as it is 1 + 1 it's 2. So it's a trend. It can be that you also fail into choosing that advertisement. But yeah, if percentages,
yeah.
if numbers are proving that, then you should go and take that.
It's stochastic or probabilistic, whatever. But if okay, so if I can go back to Ali, because I think this is a challenge I would put to you. Find me the person who, for a very low price, I can trust will spend a lot of money on site. You know so much about people. Can you give me those people?
So, yes.
Great.
So I think, you know, what our part, as I'm listening to this conversation, I'm hearing so many really great client challenges, and I completely get the challenge in having multiple languages and figuring out how to serve ancillaries to people at the right time. You know, I'm also, Laura, I completely agree with you. It's about the value of what you're selling. And what I kind of keep coming back to is when we build solutions for brands, we are taking those challenges into consideration, and the hotel ads do all of those things for you. So they're used for retargeting, and you can create a custom audience of people who you know are checking in at a certain time, and you can target them with those kind of ancillary offerings right when they are about to check in, or perhaps right when they've checked out and you know they're in need of a car service, right?
No, I know you can do that.
Yeah.
But can you also help me find the people who are most likely to, almost guaranteed to, give me more revenue on those ancillaries?
What our prospecting solutions will do and what our retargeting solutions will do will help pair the right product with the right person at the right time, right? That gives you the greatest chance of conversion. It's never going to be a guarantee, and it's not necessarily going to be based on how much they spend. It's going to be based on their personal preferences and our understanding of their consumer and kind of purchasing behavior.
Okay. Cynthia, how important are ancillaries to you? I mean, in holiday parks, it's very important. So tour operating, I would imagine it's also quite a sizable part of your revenues. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, in our hotels that are leisure hotels, you need to know if you are talking about low season, if you're talking about high season, because you price differently. You give different offers when you have low seasons, when you have more supply than demand. You need to be different to your competition. And during high season, you can sell more ancillaries because the client is willing to pay more. So
why is that? Why is the client prepared to pay more for ancillaries in high season?
Because the demand is higher than supply, and then they don't have so many offers than they have during low season.
Okay, yeah, so, but that is for the reservation revenue, right? For the room, I completely get that. But if I pay more for my room, am I willing to also pay more for my meal, my beer, my poolside bed, etc., etc.? Is that what you find, or I'm just curious how you draw that conclusion?
Well, yes, usually, as I said, if you are in low season, if there is a lot of supply, everyone is competing for the same share, for the same market, and then they will give the beer for free, they will give the meals for free, maybe they include a package, and this does not happen during high season, because you know that you will have more demand than supply.
Okay, so in low season,
you can charge for the beer, you can charge for the breakfast.
Yeah, so you use a more sort of inclusive package alongside the lower price as a basically as a sort of a price-like marketing variable.
Yes, I would say that during low season, you need to be more flexible. You need to offer a low price and then add-ons. And during high season, you can use yield restrictions. And you can, for example, say, okay, you have to pay only half board because I don't want to give you bed and breakfast. So it's different, the pricing that you will have during low season than during high season. On the other hand, I wanted to say some examples that the tour operator introduced. For example, choose your room. That is to book a specific number in advance. So you can ensure that you get exactly the room you want with the features you want. And this is going very well. Another thing that they introduced is choose your sunbed, and you can book your sunbed in advance because the clients that we had in some of our brands needed to get up early and they left the towels, and this was always a competition between the clients, and now you can have your sunbed. If you pay in advance, you can have it booked.
I can feel national stereotyping creeping into this conversation. So
Exactly.
shall we go there or shall we not go there?
Yeah, exactly. So yes, UK and Germany.
There we go.
And
it's off our chest now.
And you also asked about the willingness to pay, and how do you know what type of client is going to pay for something and what type of client is not. So depending always on the product, because if you have a luxury product, or if you have a product where the client wants to have an experience, they are willing to pay more, and but they need service. And for example, in the family branded hotels, we know that people usually spend more money in children, and that's why also clothes are not cheap and children grow in no time. So we are buying clothes now and maybe in 1 month again. So in our family branded hotels, we offer breakfast with Lolo and Bernie, that is our mascot. And the children also want to take the mascot home, so the puppets are also well sold.
Okay, clever.
And another example, Peter, imagine that you have a new girlfriend and that you want to go
maybe
out.
We shouldn't go there either.
Imagine that you want to go out with her during the first time during a weekend. I'm sure that you will pay extra money for a king size bed than for a twin.
I can imagine, yes. On a slightly safer ground, perhaps, we are almost coming to the end of this. I did want to discuss with whoever wants to have a go. I'm working for a German tour operator right now, and what I experienced there is that as a tour operator, you do yield management, but the hotels that we get our capacity from, they are also doing yield management. The airlines are doing yield management, and the OTAs are doing yield management. Where is this going to end? Because I may do a deep discount and then someone else doesn't, and it's just absorbed in the value chain margin, and it's not that effective anymore. How can we make waves together? How can we coordinate the yielding across the value chain? Is that something that you have given any thought to or have any experience with?
If I can take this,
sure.
I will read you a list that we have in our own department, and well, it's growing and it's changing the whole time. But how is it better to control our pricing? First, rate parity helps. So even if this sounds old-fashioned, we don't give special offer just for one partner, or you give them to all or to none of them. Don't give loyalty programs for an OTA bed bank, only for your direct guests. If you work with loyalty programs, I'm not that fan of them, don't give net rates for hotel only sales. Give them only for package sales. Ideally, work with dynamic pricing with tour operator if that is possible. Give the same commission for all bed banks. Only work with partners that can connect to your channel manager. Know exactly your distribution pipeline and of the partner and who do they sell to and in which markets. Get a list with all partners the partner works with and markets and exclude what you don't want. Don't be afraid of saying no and close the partner if they, yeah.
If I hear that, and then I say, you're afraid of waves, you're trying not to, you're trying to avoid one sort of path to market being very different from another one. You could also benefit from that. If you look at, say, beer campaigns in supermarkets, they just say, okay, this week I'm going to, from a Dutch perspective, supermarket A is going to do Heineken, supermarket B is going to do Grolsch, and the other week it's the other way around. So it's not avoiding differences, it's managing them and controlling them and exploiting them together throughout the value chain. And when I hear you, I hear you just want to keep it a little bit flat.
No, it's as you said, you need to control them. So I'm not saying that you don't give net rates, but if you give them, then give them as a package rate. So if you have, for example, this promotion in the supermarket, of course you can have them, but then this supermarket or this tour operator needs to sell with the flights, and that's it. And you have the promotion there, and you're not competing with the hotel only sales that you have on your website.
Marta, do you I saw the notes, so you've got 250 hotels. That was one of the questions that came up. How do you view this sort of the value chain cooperation?
Yes, I was answering to one of the questions in the chat about the number of hotels and also the number of rooms. We are the second biggest chain in Spain in number of bedrooms. With regards to the question, well, we don't have such a specific rules. We do have certain rules in our e-commerce department. Well, but the question here was that everybody is doing deal at their ends, and so how we cooperate with each other. I think that everybody is doing, each segment or each partner is doing their own strategies, and I don't see one affecting the other. Well, some of them are taking decisions on their end, which are not being checked or consulted with hotels, and that might be damaging the results of the way that you have to cooperate, right?
So but you don't say, okay, I need a lot of volume, I'm happy to take a very low price, but then I want to work with a path to market, so with a tour operator or an OTA who is also happy to take a lower commission or lower markup, and therefore together we are going to do this. Because if you give a low price to everyone and they say, oh, that's good, I don't think this is going to do much, but I'll take the margin and we'll see what happens, then you don't have an effective yielding action, right?
Oh, yes, but you know, for example, now if I'm going to a real example, now in Madrid we have 5 hotels, right? 3 are 5-star and 2 are 4-star. It is unrealistic the number of inquiries that we are receiving for group series. So that's coming from tour operator, but it's not serious like every Tuesday to every Thursday for 5 or 6 or 8 weeks in a row, but it's just specific or sporadic trips. For normally it's 25 to 27 rooms, X twins, X singles, whatever. And you go and quote, and then you receive this inquiry for 3 nights, including from Thursday to Sunday. So including 1 day of the week, which is your business day as well. So you would fill up without this procedure, but you say, okay, it's 3 nights, then I'll take it. 2 days later, then you receive an email saying that the group has changed their itinerary, and then instead of 3 days, it's 1 day and it's only coming on Thursday. Then you reply and you say, then I don't have the rooms anymore. You see what I mean? So everybody is using their own strategy. So one strategy might be, I'm going to ask you for 3 nights. When you get the availability, if you are not smart and quick enough, then I'm removing 2 of the nights. I'm getting your night in the middle of the week, and then I get the group for the price that you've provided. You see what I mean? So,
yeah, so I see what you mean, and that too is not quite the sort of the vertical relationship world that I had in mind, but maybe I'm a bit naive from my study at home.
No, true. And also when you try, if you make, I'm a person from statistics, right? So when I've been helping the team quoting, and then you get the list of the number of refuse that you get, that you are refusing business, or that you are offering at a certain price, and then they tell you, no, it's too high. So then you try to go to the correct approach, and say, okay, which is the budget? Because then, if I know the budget of your groups, then straight ahead, I understand that they have to send inquiries to. The other day, I counted they were, because they made a mistake and they put everybody in the two list instead of the blank copied. So I counted, there were 57 email addresses from 57 different hotels. So it means that it's not even about competition. It's because you are then being asked for a price together with other 56 hotels in the same place, right? So then I don't even think that it's about getting the best price, or maybe it's about who's answering me the quickest and offering me the space, or I don't know. But yeah, okay, I'm sure that from the 10 examples that I could give you, there would be one that if we would take the right approach, then we could get into this positive alignment that, yeah, okay, let's work together, right? But I would think that this is then more work from the tour operator, key account handler, rather than from the revenue department team. No?
Yeah, I don't think it would be at the level of an individual booking request.
Exactly.
But you're right. I mean, we just heard 3 seconds no response, and you lost the client. That was an interesting statistics that Ali threw in there at the start.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think, and Helen, interrupt me if you want or can, I think we are sort of reaching the end of the allotted time, and I know we're going to be cut off relentlessly at 12 o'clock. Helen, is that right?
Yeah, that is right. But I think the conversation has gone fantastically today. I've been really impressed listening to everyone's responses, and thanks, Peter, for asking the tough questions there. I think it's been a great panel today. So Laura, Cynthia, Marta, Ali, and Peter, thanks so much for the time and dedication you put into this webinar. Just a quick reminder, Laura, Cynthia, Marta will be, and Peter as well. Peter's the chair, actually, of our Revenue Optimization and Growth Summit in Amsterdam in November. And although Ali's not there, one of her colleagues from Facebook, Riordan, is also going to be speaking as well. So everyone you heard today, if you want to hear more of them, then do check out the event that's coming up in Amsterdam. I suppose that's about it for today, but thank you again for your time. I hope you all had a good, found it a valuable hour, and yes, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.